Hi, my name is Mary De Silva. I'm the wife of Julio De Silva.
And my name is Julio De Silva. So I was married for 27 years. I decided after years of unhappiness to end the marriage. I left the home and continued to support my wife and my kids in the house. They were grown up. They were already half left the house and half not. And I paid for everything for about 18 months. At which point in time, I decided that, time had to come and we had to dissolve this and move on. And when she started to not get her way, she decided to lay false allegations of abuse against me, which led to the situation that I'm in now. When I got there, it was supposed to do a walkthrough to the house to decide, who was going to get what. And I got there and I already kind of figured something was wrong because of her demeanor. She was standing in a kind of an angry way. We started walking through the house, and things that we kind of had agreed verbally before now were kind of off the table, and it just got to the point that she wasn't letting me have anything. At the end of walking through the house, she said, "And by the way, you're not allowed to come here anymore, and you can't come into the house anymore." My ex-wife and I were standing on in the foyer having a verbal argument, and about my rights being at the house and things like that, even though I was paying for everything. And I had already checked to see that I did have the right to be there. So it just got worse and worse, and I basically said, I'm taking this to court now. And the argument got more heated, at which point in time my oldest daughter got involved from the top of the stairs, and there was a lot of yelling back and forth. And when I tried to step up towards my daughter to talk to her instead of yelling down the stairs, my ex-wife got in the way and pushed me and then slapped me twice across the ear, telling me that I had no right to be there and that I had to get out of the house. And at that same time, she was calling to my oldest daughter to call the police because they wanted to have me removed from the house. And my oldest daughter called the police. And that's how the ball started going. In their video statements at the police station, my daughter then stated that I was strangling my wife. But my wife, in her statement, said that I was slapping my daughter. At that point in time, I didn't know that they were going to say any lies or anything. They were just calling the police because they wanted to have me removed. But I had started to have already ringing in my ear from being hit. And when I got home to Barrie, I was talking to Mary, and she suggested that I make a call to the police and make a statement, just in case something came out of this. So I did. I phoned the Port Barrie detachment. And they said that they couldn't take the statement over the phone, that I had to come in and make the statement. So I turned around and drove all the way back to Port Barrie to make the statement. When I got there, I said, I'm here to make a statement. They said, "Oh, right. Can you just sit there for a bit?" I was there for about half an hour, 45 minutes, at which point in time 3 officers came out and said that I was, based on the review of the evidence, they made a decision that I was to be arrested, and they wouldn't give me a reason why. But I said I'd like to make a statement, and they said I wasn't allowed to at that point. Like all night long, I had the ringing in my ears from the slap. So the next day, I thought it would kind of go away, and it didn't. But I was still in jail anyway, so it made no difference. And because of everything else I was going through, I didn't think of asking someone there to have my hearing checked. It was only until I had been released that day. It was the next day that I went to a clinic, and the clinic then sent me to a hearing test right away. And they realized that I had blunt force trauma to my ear, which was resulting, I believe it was 15% loss, hearing loss in my ear. She open-handed slapped me in the ear, which caused a air balloon to go into my eardrum. That ringing lasted for a week plus, wasn't it? And unfortunately there's nothing they can do about it other than let it go. And it took a good 6 months for my ear to feel normal again. I'm claustrophobic. It's not something that most people admit to, but being put in a cell, you know, it's a very small cell. It's 4 by 8, I believe. And it's a concrete cell with just a door in the front, a concrete bed that you sleep on. They won't give you any pillows or anything to lie on. You just get to lie on this concrete slab. I guess being in that situation, being closed in, locked up, my claustrophobia took on a different state of mind, and I spent most of the night pacing back and forth and going through mental anguish and whatnot. When I finally got released the next day and went home that night, I started having nightmares, which I'd wake up screaming from. Anyone that would approach me or come close to me, I automatically recalled. I mean, I was even recalling from her. So at that point in time, it was decided that maybe I need to go and talk to someone about that. I went and spoke to a general therapist, and after the third visit to her, which was 1 week after the other, she said she couldn't help me because she didn't have the experience to deal with PTSD. She strongly believed that's what I was suffering from. At which time she referred me to a psychiatrist at the Barrie Hospital, and I went to visit him, and he concluded the same thing, that this whole thing had put my state of mind in that condition. And it's to the point that everything that comes into my life, when new people approach me, when women approach me, I go into that threat assessment, and I still do today. I don't have the nightmares as much anymore. I wake up from night tremors once in a while, and it throws me back right into that cell, being locked up, not having the ability to talk to anyone, not having the ability to explain anything, and that whole being treated like a criminal and that you don't have any rights. That's a huge piece to lose of yourself. One of the side effects of PTSD is I can't have anyone walk behind me. I can't sit in a room. The funny thing is, I got a contract job that had me in an office with no windows. I couldn't sit in there. I spent the time in the boardroom because I couldn't sit in that room. If we go to a restaurant, I have to have my back either to a wall or to another booth or something that won't have anyone coming up behind me. Because I can't have that happen. And even when we're out in general public, like I very carefully watch what's going on. I'm always in that threat assessment mode, which is exhausting. Part of this process, even though all charges are dropped, you still end up with a record. And if you have the requirement to be bonded or have any kind of security clearance, it becomes almost impossible until that whole process is taken care of. I do have my CSIS clearance because I do work with law enforcement. We hold very sensitive data on our systems. I needed to have that. But because of all this, I couldn't, for the first 6 months after that, I wasn't even in a state of mind where I could even work. I actually took time off. And even when I went back to work, it was difficult. And then it causes a problem with the company when your senior executives are supposed to be bondable and I'm not allowed to be. That means that being that I was the key person for the IT and all the data, they lost that. They couldn't put me in that position anymore. So I didn't have that job anymore. And it makes it very difficult.
Your legal costs were $11,000. The criminal.
Yeah, the criminal cost was $11,000 to have it dismissed.
Excuse me.
The cost of loss of income, $250,000.
Wow. That's huge.
It is. I've worked my whole life, as like most men do, hard to get where I am. I was making good money, and I wasn't. All of a sudden, it started with a ride down to the Oshawa courthouse, where the jail is, with the police officers. When I asked him, I don't understand why I'm the one that's being arrested when this is false. And he said, we have to arrest someone, and it's always the male. And I said, that doesn't make sense. And then I said, but if you took my statement, and he says, okay, off the record, I can't hear what you want to say. Like, you just can't tell me. And I said, but if someone would listen to what really happened, and he says, that's not how it works.
What did he mean by that?
What he meant was that in this kind of situation, a domestic violence situation, he stated that 99.9% of the time they arrest the male and they take him out of the situation. When it comes to domestic abuse, it's a gender thing. And when on the ride, and that was the other part of the ride down, he said, the fact is, you're the guy, you get arrested. This is a police officer telling me this on my way down, even though he said it was off the record and he would never stand in court for this, that it is their rule that when they come to a domestic abuse situation and there is a male and a female, it will be the male that will be taken away in handcuffs. And it will always be the female that they speak to first. So if I had stayed at the house and they had shown up, they would have spoken to her first, gotten her statements, and based on that, arrested me and taken me away. Once the statement is made by the first party, in this case my ex-wife, and in many cases the female, which is who gets interviewed first, you don't get to make a statement anymore. The minute they turn around and look at you for the arrest, that's it. You have to shut up and go.
The statement that you get to make is to your lawyer.
Yeah.
That's where your statement comes out, is through your lawyer. So the police aren't interested in what you have to say, but your defense lawyer is. So that's where you get to make your statement, and before that you don't get to.
So the first time I got to make my statement was when they brought me into that little room that I got to talk to a court-appointed lawyer. Because when they arrest you, they take everything away from you. You're not allowed to make phone calls. You can't use your phone to call anyone. You can't explain to someone, find me a lawyer. You can't do anything. You are stuck with the court lawyer. And you don't get to make a statement until then. And when I started to tell him, he said, I understand exactly what you're going through, but the reason you're going to lose in this situation is because you have a penis. I wanted to make a statement to the police for her physical assault against me. They will not take a statement.
The police will not investigate
not at all
her as a violent offender.
Because they already represent her.
The Crown is already representing my ex-wife. It's automatically, I'm guilty, and even when I prove my innocence, I'm still guilty because the courts won't accept the fact that they made an error in arresting me, and I cannot have her arrested or charged unless I go civilly. And you can go through a process that if the courts do agree that this happened and this would actually have enough evidence, they will actually arrest her and charge her for false allegations and the abuse. But to do that, you have to first go and talk to a justice of the peace and prove your case before you even get into a court. The justice of the peace will then make a decision at that point in time whether your case has merit or doesn't. If it does, you then get a court-appointed date. I guess mine did. She was actually quite shocked because at that point in time I already had the information about the different lies and everything else. I also had my medical records showing the damage to my ear and everything else, and she felt that this was enough or sufficient information to present to the court. I guess I made the assumption that if you get past stage 1, you have a high likelihood of winning in stage 2 because you had merit. But apparently you don't, because you could land up in front of a Crown prosecutor, which is biased. It was his personal opinion that he was surprised that she hadn't slapped me sooner because she was just trying to protect her property. If you're a guy and you think you're safe with the courts, you're not.
You're not.